10 years later, you can imagine 99% of the factories being dark factories. Can you not?
That's pretty scary, Monish.
It is. It
So,
is.
I keep on.
Again, sorry to interrupt you. If you can drive an autonomous car in San Francisco traffic at peak hours, you can run a dark factory to manufacture shirts and watches.
Of course, you can. But people will still reproduce. And the people who are reproduced will grow up and they need to earn. What you are saying is there won't be jobs for people to do. I'm a hardcore believer of capitalism, but our conversation is leading to a situation where capitalists moving to an even more capitalist society, and and everything else is becoming an outcome of be- an outcome because we want to become more capitalist in nature. uh, but it doesn't solve the problem that we started with, that you said that 100% jobs will become irrelevant.
Bear with me for a second. If I look at electricity, right, we have been struggling with, and people have been promising, there has been news, people have been awarded the Nobel Prize and said, no, it is wrong for cold fusion. It hasn't got out of the lab. It's not even been completely successful in the lab yet at practical conditions. At near zero Kelvin, yes, but not in a practical way.
What do you mean by that?
So what
Near
it
zero
means
Kelvin?
is the same mechanism that our sun uses to generate so much power is nuclear fusion and nuclear fission, two reactions. If I can actually fuse two atoms, I can produce a lot of energy without the bad things that a nuclear reaction, the fission reaction causes, right? So it's actually in the news today that India came up with our first breeder reactor. I don't know if you saw the news. It's our first prototype fast breeder
I haven't.
reactor that went live in near Chennai, right? Our nuclear power plant there. So, but nuclear technology has this fallout problem, radioactivity problem. Nuclear fusion eliminates that because it combines helium and hydrogen atoms to generate electricity. That's been the ticket to free energy for humanity. And that's why billions and billions of dollars have been spent on making nuclear fusion practical to generate electricity, right?
Yeah.
The second problem is longevity. Last month, the first ever drug that claims to decrease your age, biological age, decrease your biological age, went in human trials, clinical trials in the US.
US, yeah.
The first time ever, right? The third thing, 1 month ago, Google announced that they are rolling back the calendar for practical quantum computing from 2035 to 2029. Okay. What are these three things indicating to me? They're telling me that as AI becomes ubiquitous, as scientists start using AI and the power of these pattern matching and these models and the new technology and the ability to write code at volume, like huge volume, to create systems, to analyze data, to see data, visualize data, all of that, right? To run inferences, run experiments, run simulations, is accelerating all sorts of science very quickly. Next 10 years, if I can get nuclear fusion right as a practical way of creating power, my power problems are gone. The Iran war is irrelevant because energy will be free virtually if nuclear
So
fusion
a
becomes
lot
practical.
more AI work jobs can be done. Right now, there is this huge debate around should AI be allowed because it is increasing. Energy consumption has shot through the
Exactly.
roof. Global warming is peaking, so on and so forth. So
Exactly. And also, there is not enough capacity. Everybody is trying to find capacity to run data
so
centers. It's not
yeah, yeah,
finding
yeah.
capacity. Because think about it, free power free
तो
compute for AI.
जो reproduction भी बंद करना पड़ेगा ना, there has to be an end to what will people do if they
No,
grow up.
So that is a question that will face humanity, just like it faced humanity on communications or mobility and any of these things, except now at a much bigger scale, right? Sorry about that.
Yeah.
And then I
You
think
can take a call. You can take your call if it's
no, I think it's just my 4 o'clock alarm that did.
then what happened?
So he said, but what's the point in living if my friends are not allowed me? So I want you to live for 120 years, right?
So you also have to live for
Yeah,
120 years now.
because otherwise, all his friends are dead, right? So we said, yeah, why not? Let's
Let's
actually aim for it and figure out what happens. How much lifestyle do we need to change? What should we? So what we came to what conclusion we came to? All we have to do, now just hear me out. All we have to do is live for another 10 years, not die. And we'll live for 120 years automatically.
So you're saying that the pace at which science is evolving, if we manage to live for another 10 years, then everything that is happening in the space of medicine, biology, longevity will allow us
To live for
in a
100.
capitalist society, if we have that kind of money, will allow us to live for till 120 years.
Correct.
So you think that anybody who has a medical insurance of 2 crore rupees, of annual medical insurance of 2 crore rupees, can live up to 120 years?
But think about 10 years later, if this happens, if you can live for 120 years, will money exist?
It's crazy, Monish. Money, of course, money will exist because you will need money to live for 120 years, right? Without money, you will not be. So
Assume you have free power and free compute.
the value of money will even increase even more because it will create a larger societal divide. There will be a large Garib population. There will be a very, very skewed Amir population. The middle class will become even more sandwiched because longevity cannot be given to everybody.
That's the thing. That's the interesting question to answer, right? If this technology, so I'm writing a book which will be released by the end of May called the DeepSeek moment, right? So the theory when ChatGPT released was to train a transformer.
Why the hell did I make this question and I don't know? It's a useless piece of paper, right?
We can go on for hours.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very interesting. Think about if you want to train a foundation model, okay, you needed at least 300 million. You got the data, clean the data pipeline, then you needed all the compute, then you train the model, then you do post-training, then you do testing, then you do verification, ethical, and all of that, right?
True.
You needed 300 million. So everybody thought that these models will only come from companies like Microsoft, Google, OpenAI, Anthropic. People who have lots of money, right? Suddenly, out of nowhere, this company of like 5 people in somewhere in China, the hedge fund, not even a proper company, right, came up with the DeepSeek model.
Correct.
Right? They said we did these 3-4 things that changed the way you need compute, that changed the way you do inferencing, because inferencing was also very expensive. If you're running a 200 billion parameter model, inferencing can be really costly. What they said was, we do this mixture of experts. Depending on the query you ask, I will only go to that part of the model which can answer the query.
Correct.
Right? So
Selective.
The cost of inferencing just nosedived. Cost of training nosedived, right? And then they took the next bold step. They released this with open weights to the world. They said, look at our weights. Weights are the things that, these
Closely guarded.
closely guard,
Yeah.
because that's their IP. They said, here are our weights. You can use them, you can tweak them, you can change them, you can do whatever you want. So people will find a way. People come, and now this is at the level of
So you're
countries.
saying that economies cannot close thinking that that's a way to gain prominence or
And money.
and money.
correct? So now, if you have a country of 1.5 billion people, you cannot say, I will only make, 20% of the population live for 120 years if they give me so much money. You can't do that. It's the end of the
Yeah.
country.
It has giving me two business ideas. One is there will be two medicines, like a vaccine of not to reproduce and a vaccine, or every year you take like a flu shot, you take a shot to live longer,
Live
right?
longer.
Because if you keep on reproducing, this world will be overpopulated and will burst out of our seams from a geographical standpoint. And if you do not die, you just kind of live, then you just live, right?
That's right. That's right. But
And
that is
having
why,
children should be taxed
yeah, but that is why Mr.
extremely.
Musk is already planning to go to Mars. Right?
Mars.
And
Yeah.
moon settling seems to be on its way. I think at the end of the day, I'm a big optimist. It's not the world is going to end. We are going to find new things for sure, right? Will it be rooted in money? I hope not. I think it will be a liberation for the human race to be liberated from money.